Yeah. So I don't remember obviously at that age, but I remember being at Panchkani from a very young age because my parents, I think, moved from Mumbai, helping oversee or run the IOC center there to Asia Plateau. I think my father became involved in the administration of the center there, and my mother was involved in housekeeping.
So how was it to grow up there?
It was really unique. I feel it was really interesting, and I had a really nice childhood. It was unique because I had a rotating group of younger people who I could play with and interact with, because there was a lot of international conferences and Indian conferences in the center. So there was always a group of people who would come and go for conferences. Their children would come there, so I had a lot of playmates from time to time. So it was kind of cool. The other thing was it's a huge center, so I had a lot of space to run around and play. Yeah, there were conferences held there, international IFC conferences and local Indian-centric conferences.
So these were families also from Japan?
Yeah, so there were a lot of them were IFC people who came from Japan, Korea, Australia, a lot of people from Australia, just all over the world. So I grew up interacting with a lot of different cultures. I think it gave me an appreciation for diversity. It also gave me a slight benefit in a way of being able to interact with different kinds of people. I don't know if it's a skill, but I think it taught me that. I graduated from high school there in 96. I was born in 1980, and school wasn't very far away. It was just around the corner, a local school. Yeah. But it was a boarding school. But I was a day scholar, living just 5 minutes around, nearby in the center. But in my last year in that school, I was a boarder. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, because my parents had decided to move to the northeast of India for my father's work.
At Panchkani you also were in close contact with the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, right?
Yes, so he was contemporary in age to my father, Raj Mohan Gandhi. I'd call him Uncle Raj Mohan. Tall guy, really interesting. I always knew that he was, aware that he had the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. I was closer to his son, great-grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, Devu Gandhi, who is now in America and is working as a lawyer. And his sister Supriya, I think she goes quite often to Panchkani for conferences there. I think Mahatma Gandhi actually met, or Frank Bookman, rather, they both met each other, and that was back, I think, in the early days before he became very involved with the Indian independence movement, from what I've heard. I was actually stayed. There was a house in Panchkani in Asia Plateau, which it's called the Lodge, near the gate, in the same campus, and one side of the house was me and my parents, and the other side would be Gandhi's. So it was this we had a common kitchen. At this childhood house. I grew up there from an early age. So I think I must have spent, at some point we moved from the lodge to the bungalow, which is another house near the gate again, but a separate building. So I don't know when I moved, but I remember my earliest childhood memories were from the lodge, which had a really nice view of the valley below, and the river that flowed through the valley. So it's kind of cool.
You went to university, right?
Yes, I did geology there. It was good. We went for a lot of field trips. We really enjoyed it. Got a lot of practical experience. Yeah, geology is very hands-on. I chose it because I had an interest in geography in high school, because it had the science component which I was interested in, and so it was easier for me to make the move. So I came to Australia in 2005.
So what did you study in Perth?
I studied the GIS. I studied a graduate diploma in GIS, and so GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. So yes, there is a connection with my geography interest and geology, because GIS deals with how to use computers, or the use of computers, to create maps and create or capture data that you can use to create a map. You know?
Okay.
So, but I decided to start learning programming, which is because I had felt that in my field in GIS, I was really ending up all just doing the same thing every day, making maps.
Yeah.
It wasn't very satisfying.
Okay.
So I felt I wanted to explore, and I had this interest of computers from a long time as a child. So I said, okay, I'm going to teach myself programming. So a lot of the time I'd just be in my room on YouTube or whatever, and just started like following along and trying to program. I came to Armagh and I found work with the Bureau of Meteorology for a year.
What is that?
Yeah, it was a GIS job, but this was work in dealing with. So the Bureau of Meteorology is the Australian National Weather Bureau, but they also are responsible for maintaining data, water resource data. I was working and dealt with underground water resources, like in aquifers under the ground. So they were trying to map boreholes that are drilled all across Australia and that contain data on groundwater levels, so that they can plan for how much water each farmer can withdraw and to use for their crops and irrigation.
Okay.
I liked it in the sense because I could learn new skills. I could apply some of the programming skills I've learned, but we eventually produced would be used for making real decisions for farmers.
What are you looking for? Like, what kind of dreams do you have?
I want to learn how to build an app. I want to learn a bit more, those kind of technical skills. I have a long way to go, and eventually maybe start a business, an IT kind of consultancy business. And being in Armagh, having the environment of IFC, you also have an awareness of social issues that I don't think I would have had if I stayed somewhere else. It's interesting. It's nice. I mean, you live in a lovely mansion. I think the good thing is also you get to meet people from all over who come by here for meetings and programs. I get to help out with some of the technical sound issues, or maybe when the computer issue around then. It seems to be quite a vibrant IFC community. Yeah, which is nice, and Armagh provides that space. I think that yes, obviously the real need to find a younger generation who can run things. The whole concept of voluntary work is quite, like, I know it because my father and mother were involved as volunteers, but for me, I just don't see for myself having a career like that. You really need sort of support that you get from, or maybe in the past there's a lot of support. So it's expensive.
Like
it's expensive to live now. Yeah, so. A lot of stress is put on quiet time, how you can play a part, and I think those two things you can build into your lifestyle. Maybe that'll help. I don't always have days when I do it, because I feel for it to really be effective, you need to spend, for me at least, I need to spend at least an hour, and sometimes I can't dedicate enough time for that. It probably boils down to discipline.
How did you get to those revelations?
Maybe things like how I may have talked to my wife, or what I might have said that affected her. Maybe I came back with another approach, or I could apologize because I understood where I was wrong, and that kind of thing. Something that at work I had said or done wrongly, even something like unrelated to like what I've seen, like delve into like reconciliation or like, but just technical things.
You sit down.
Just sit down and maybe the routine is start writing bullet points that into your mind, and then maybe fill that out a bit long in more detail if you feel like or can. Yeah, it's like that seems to be a way for me to operate. So okay, that came to mind, write it down. And then something else comes to my mind, write that down. Then spend time going through that. So that way you haven't lost that thought. You can build on it later. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.